This is a video about my petrol powered Pylon 3000, so I'm in the Pylontech ecosystem. So what this is an Eltek Flatpack 3000 3 kilowatt, which is basically a 3 kilowatt, about 60 amps at 52 volts, AC to DC power supply. I've made this box up, so this uses a little adapter board I got off eBay from Ice Cool, I think it was called. Got a battery isolator, an Arduino which is running some code that controls the current and power of the battery, of the power supply. It has a pre-charge button on there, so what I'm doing is just running before you engage the thing, because there's capacitors in here, so you'll get a bit of an arc if you're trying to switch that on. It's just not good on all the capacitors and that. So what you do is you press the pre-charge button, which if I press that in, that's pre-charged the capacitor batteries, and then I can turn the big battery on. So this is just plugged into my in the bus bars, so it effectively just looks like another battery. And then what we have is a 3 kVA generator. This all comes to life. This uses has a walk-in, so it spends a minute powering up slowly, because if you just apply a full load to a fairly lightweight generator, it would just stall it out dead. I've got the startup settings of the power supply set to about 47 volts and 20 amps. 47 volts is essentially equal to 5% of battery charge or 0% of battery charge. So the idea is that it will switch on and it'll be putting out less DC voltage than what the system needs at all. So effectively put no load onto the generator whatsoever. So that's deliberate. I didn't want it starting up and instantly just dumping to like 2 or 3 kilowatts, about 2.5 kilowatts. The generator is 3000 kVA. I think it's got a continuous rating of about 2.6 kVA. I don't know what the power factor is. I run it at about 2,500 watts maximum, so I've coded it so I can't draw more than 2,500 watts. And I've done that through the maximum voltage, which is 51%, which 51 volts, about 51.5 volts, which is about 80% charge. Again, I've deliberately not gone for 100% charge, and I've limited the current to 50 amps, which takes you up to about 2,500. So I've sort of hard-coded parameters in there around the maximum that the generator can do. The power supply is capable of more, but I don't really want to run it flat out. I'm not entirely convinced how robust those contacts are on the daughter board. Uses a C16 16 amp connector on uses commandos, so everything's very well over spec. These are 25mm cables, deliberately use the same connectors as they use on the Pylontech batteries. So hopefully in a minute this will come out of walk-in mode, and then you just go and select the power and current that you want. So it's fine to just set the voltage straight to 51 volts. Right, so that says normal now. So there's a little selector button here. So you just go in there. So I can change the voltage. So I can just turn that straight up. The power supply itself will go up to about 60 volts. But again, you can hear the Jenny kicking in now. So I could just go to 51 volts there, which is about 80 or 90% charge on a Pylontech. I've deliberately avoided trying to charge it to 100%. So I set the voltage, so it's still current limiting there to 20 amps. So it'll be about a kilowatt this will be pulling now. There you go. You can see it's saying current limit. I'm just using this little selector here. So now I can crank the current up. You'll hear the generator kicking in. You can hear it getting higher and higher. Flat out. So that's 2.5 kilowatts. I've got some safeties built into it. So if the Arduino crashes or it loses CAN communications, the power supply will default back to 47 volts and 20 amps. So after 20 seconds you'll hear it time out. There you go. So the power supply's gone back to a default burnt in value, which is like 5 or 0% charge. Again, the idea is if the Arduino crashed or there's a problem, then it just goes back to a safe level. So if I plug the CAN bus back in, so you can see there it's struggling. It dumped all the power. As soon as I plugged the CAN in, the CAN said, right, I want 2.5 kilowatts. And you heard the generator try to kick in and it couldn't cope with it. So what it's now doing is doing the walk-in again now. So this should hopefully, I could go and change the voltage down. This is doing a 60-second walk-in, and about the last 10 seconds of the walk-in, it will then ramp the power and the current up to the requested. So we've got to wait for the walk-in period to go, which is set to 60 seconds. You can hear it ramping up now. That's it. Petrol powered Pylontech.